Welcome to Sri Lanka.
Welcome to Sri Lanka.
Welcome to Sri Lanka.
Welcome to Sri Lanka.
Namal Sri Lanka.
ලංකාවට සාදරයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා.
Welcome to the Pearl of Indian Ocean, Sri Lanka. Luckily, Sri Lanka is an easy country when it comes to visas. A lot of the places just don't need a visa. From Europe, from North America, Western world, you don't need a visa, but you do need to get an ETA, an electronic travel authorization in advance, which I highly recommend. And they don't need a lot of paperwork for it, just an address which you can provide for your hotel, and that's pretty much it. And I applied for it and I got it within a few hours without any hitch. So apply for that, come here, and I honestly breezed through the immigration in less than a minute. So it shouldn't be a problem for anyone other than a few countries. Sri Lanka is actually much safer than I thought, and it is really nice, and a big part of it is the locals who make you feel absolutely at home at all times. They go extra mile just to make you feel like you don't feel like, you need help at any point. There's tourism police if you need help. I didn't feel like that at all at any point. I walked around like in the night on my own. I took tuk-tuks in the evening. Didn't feel threatened like even a single % to warrant any kind of response. So Sri Lanka is generally very safe, even if you're a solo traveler like me. I would definitely say Sri Lanka is one of the safest countries in Asia that I visited, and at no point I felt like I need some help. Now, there are quite a few telecom companies here, which means there's competition, and it generally means better service. Unfortunately, not the case here. So there's two companies mainly that I focused on, Dialog and SLT Mobitel, and they're both the market leaders. So SLT Mobile is the fastest one, but Dialog has a much better coverage. They're both quite cheap, so it's not, actually Sri Lanka is one of the 10 cheapest data provider countries in the entire world, not just with their neighbors. So that part is good, but service is a little patchy. The other thing you need to take care of is when you're buying data packages, make sure they're anytime, because a few of them have restrictions where you cannot use certain amount of data outside a particular time at night. So it starts at 1 a.m. in the night till 6 a.m. in the morning, and you won't be able to use that data in the morning. So get anytime data packages. That's really, really important, unless you're planning on waking up like in the middle of the night to use internet. Internet is generally pretty bad here, honestly. I didn't manage to do anything, couldn't upload any videos at all. So if your work requires fast internet, unfortunately Sri Lanka is not the answer for remote working. Wi-Fi is available, but again, it's a little, it's quite slow, not just little. Reception is quite patchy when you come to higher altitude areas like Ella, Norelia, Kandy. Kandy is not too bad, but the other ones, the reception is not great for pretty much any mobile providers. So take a pick which one you want, but I guess you're not here to use internet, right? Just to stay in touch with people. So grab either Dialog or SLT Mobile, depending on what you want. What better place to tell you about how to get around in Sri Lanka than this? Now, there are a few airports, but most probably you will land at the Colombo airport. It is quite nice, functional, has everything, exchange companies, banks, SIM cards, everything. To get around in the cities, you can take Uber, or there's another app called Pick Me Up. You can use them in the cities, but honestly, the best option is to take a tuk-tuk. They're just available at all times. This is a tuk-tuk, and this is the best way of getting around in the cities in Sri Lanka. Now, they're always available day or night. You just hail one and you just sit on one, and this is where I'm going to give you a little secret. you have to negotiate and haggle the fare. They don't work with meters most of the time, and as soon as they see a tourist, the prices go up. So the secret is divide the price they give you by 2, and that's where you start the negotiation. So. Let's talk about getting between different places. Now you have 2 options in terms of public transport. You can use the buses, which are very slow and drive really dangerously, but super cheap. The other option is to use trains. Obviously, it's a lot safer, but super slow. Like the things that take about 3 to 4 hours on the car will take about 6-7 on the train. You can't book things online. I've been trying to do it, but yeah, it doesn't work very well. But you need to get your tickets in advance because sometimes they just go really, really quickly, especially if you're on the train between Kandy and Ella. Now, obviously you have to do that journey because that's one of the best things to do in Sri Lanka. There are a few options. You can take the train from Kandy to Ella, which takes about 7 hours, or you can take it from Kandy to Norelia. And the last option is from Norelia to Ella, which I am doing, and honestly, it takes about 3 hours and it's equally gorgeous. So that's the way to do it. Between going around, I've been using a guy with his car who's driving me around. I'll introduce you to him now. So if you can't drive around, what's the best option? The best option is to find someone local who can take you around, and this is my buddy Namal, and he's been taking me around everywhere. He's been like, he's my guide, my buddy, and my driver, all in all, and he knows everything. He knows like teeny tiny places that are not even on the map, and he also helped me plan this trip, so he's amazing. And he's also helped like take all my photos and videos, so a lot of credit goes to him. It's a huge task, trust me. And if you want to reach out to him, I will leave his number below, and you can also check him out on Instagram, the Sri Lanka man, without any spaces. Okay, don't drive around, just contact him, he'll sort you out.
Travel with the Sri Lanka man.
So there are 3 main languages here: Sinhala, Tamil and English. Sinhala is spoken by the majority of the people in the country, Tamil is the second, and English is used mainly as a link language or a bridge language. So everyone speaks most of the people speak at least some level of English, which makes it really easy to get around. So I have not had to use my translate, even like Google Translate, even once to translate. That's really, really convenient. So if you speak English, you shouldn't have really any problems. Although I would say sometimes you need to be very, very clear in what you're saying, because sometimes they don't understand, like, if you have a British accent or if you're speaking too fast. Let's talk about money. Now, this is the currency of Sri Lanka, and look how colorful it is. And I like that they have their birds on their currency, which is really nice. So this is called rupee, and this is the currency of Sri Lanka. And this is what you will need to pay around the country. US dollars are not really accepted everywhere. You might be able to pay for some hotels, etc., but generally you will need the local currency to pay for everything. Now, in bigger cities, you will be able to find a lot of ATMs, a lot of currency exchanges. There are currency exchange booths at the airport where you can change your currency, or you will find a lot of banks and ATMs. I did manage to find 2-3 banks that do not charge transaction fees, which is great. And also, card payments are not very common outside the big cities or in big fancy resorts, so you will end up using cash. So I would definitely recommend keeping some cash with you at all times for day-to-day stuff, for like going around, for tuk-tuks, etc., etc. If you want to, change your money around the city just like that, they will give you a really bad exchange rate. So this is all about money in Sri Lanka. Now, let's talk about how expensive it is. Sri Lanka is actually really cheap. I was really surprised at how nice and cheap it is. You could eat at a really good restaurant and the bill wouldn't be more than like 12-15 pounds. That's like $17-18, something like that. And you could hire a car with the driver, which I'm doing, which is around 40 to 50 pounds a day. again, super convenient and nice, and food is generally quite cheap everywhere. Accommodation, you have tons of options from some really good ones like homestay type places which only cost about like $10-12 a day with like really decent rooms, air conditioning, etc, etc. So in terms of value for money, Sri Lanka is amazing and it's cheap, really good when it comes to that. So a massive thumbs up to Sri Lanka for that. Now there are two types. The first type is ordinary Sri Lankans who are absolutely incredibly, amazingly sweet and nice. I don't think I've felt so welcomed in such a long time in a country. People love taking photos with you, they like to help you. They're very, very nice and they're very sweet and they're very, very, very kind and helpful. So if you are worried about like being treated badly, don't worry about that at all. Now the second kind is a little bit more difficult, and these are people who are either related to tourism or men in position of authority. They like showing their grout, so be careful, stay firm. A lot of the information they give you, like for example if you're entering a park or something, they will just, if you're right, make sure you stand your ground. If you're not sure, make sure you tell them you will be reaching out to the tourism police. That usually sorts things out. The tuk-tuk drivers and all the people who are taking you to that festival, which you're very lucky to have because it's the last day of that in Colombo, that fits into the second type. They're quite persistent and they annoy you quite a bit, but don't engage and just move on. You know, don't engage, don't be rude. That's the easiest solution to this problem. Otherwise, honestly, I love people of Sri Lanka. They're just absolutely nice and sweet and really, really friendly. As sweet as the Sri Lankans are, I have a handy tip for you. Most of the time, they don't like saying no, which means you will get a nod and an okay, okay, which means they're not understanding what you're saying. Please, at those times, communicate slowly, more clearly, even translate things for them. I've been bitten a couple of times in restaurants where I asked for something not to get that, and they brought exactly that thinking that I wanted that. So be very careful of that. It's just like considered bad manners to say no to guests here. Let's talk about clothes for Sri Lanka. Now I know it's very tempting to just put in a couple of bathing suits and forget about the rest, but there's more to it than that. You need at least one pair of trousers to cover your knees while getting inside temples. They give you those clothes you can rent out to wrap around your waist, but I honestly don't know how clean they are, so I prefer my own trousers. Also, at a higher level areas like Norelia or Ella, it is actually quite cold and chilly, especially in the evenings. So you need at least one pair of like a hoodie or a jacket or something warm to keep you comfortable. So, come prepared. How many days should you come to Sri Lanka for? I'm coming here for like about 12 to 13 days, and honestly I've been going at quite a fast pace, and there's still quite a lot that I could have done more. A week at the very minimum is must for Sri Lanka, otherwise you won't do it justice. If you're short on time, you can skip Colombo altogether, although it has some interesting places like a Gangaramaya temple, which is absolutely fantastic. So I mean, honestly, if you have a lot of time, you could come here for a month and you'd still be left with places to explore. Despite looking like a teeny tiny teardrop on the map, it's actually quite a big country. And the east side of the country is a lot less explored comparatively to the west side. So if you want to spend more time and explore all of that, east is the place you go. So at the very minimum, 7 days for Sri Lanka. Anything more is going to be an absolute pleasure for you. These are the normal sockets that you will find everywhere. And I don't know what these are. I've tried putting the EU plug in there, which doesn't work. And conveniently, they also have these, which are multi-purpose. So you can use for the EU, or you can also use them for the UK one. So do come prepared, but I honestly don't know what these are and how to handle them. Do you want to befriend Sri Lankans but don't know how to? the easiest conversation starter, cricket. Talk about it and you will make friends in no time, I promise you. Tickets are priced differently for locals versus foreigners. It's a little weird that they even have different toilets and entrances for foreigners, but oh well. One thing though, if you belong to the South countries, which is Pakistan, Nepal, India, Bangladesh and Bhutan, you do need to bring your passport and you get half off on a lot of places like Sigiriya, which are quite expensive, like $30, so you would get a half off. And if you don't have your passport at the moment, just keep the ticket on you and you can get the refund at the airport when you're leaving. Don't support elephant rides. Please do not go to any places that offer anything with elephant that involves touching, feeding, sitting on them, bathing, because there's a lot of cruelty behind these things. Please do not support them. You can definitely see a lot of elephant. Sri Lanka has a lot of beautiful national parks. You can see tons of them there. So choose kindness and don't support any of these horrific, cruel practices. Electricity could be a little bit of a problem when you are in Sri Lanka. So it comes and goes. There is load shedding, what it's called here. But a lot of the places that you'll be staying at, the tourist establishments, they do have generators to help you. But do bear that in mind if you're going to places like far off, like I'm in Sigiriya right now. For all the higher altitude stuff like Kandy, Norelia, Ella, you want to do all the scenic stuff in the morning because it gets a little hazy in the afternoon like this. Also, you should take the morning train. That's the best one for all the good filming and shooting and, also just looking around. This is Brown Boy Travels and I hope you really liked this video. If you did, please do like, subscribe and comment and let me know some amazing destinations in your country. I would love to come. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, you have an amazing day ahead. Mwah.